All right, so welcome to Say What I Mean. I got my man Fa here again. Come poly with us real quick. We gonna chill. How you feeling today?
Man, I'm good, man. A little sleepy, but I'm all right. How about you?
Yeah. I'm tired too, but that's okay. We still gonna rock out because there's some important issues we need to talk about. It's definitely like I don't know if you watch battle rap, but like one of the lines from this battle rapper is like, "There's some things we got to talk about," and it's definitely some things we got to talk about right now. Before we
For
even
sure.
start off, yesterday was Martin Luther King Day, MLK Day. Do you have anything that you want to say about MLK Day, and what's your thoughts on the whole holiday and how to honor Dr. Martin Luther King?
Well, I'll say this. Everybody should watch that Boondocks MLK episode every year. You know what I mean? I think it's aged very well, especially in the social media age. But on a more serious note, I mean, I think with MLK Day, it's you just gotta always keep in mind that this man's legacy, you cannot whitewash it. You can't just buy into the I have a dream portion of it, which I feel like, every year that's what everybody's focusing on. The man was an anti-imperialist, he was anti-capitalist, he was radical, he was hated, when he was alive. Just look at Bernice King, his daughter's, Twitter last night. Just see whatever she's saying. Just like why her father was demonized was just because he wanted to do what was right, just like get people guaranteed income, get people their civil rights, their labor rights, their, the whole cadre of things that, as he said, this country has socialism for the rich and rugged capitalism, individualism for the rest of people. So in terms of honoring Dr. King, I think, we have to champion those, those visions, those policies that in the 60s he was talking about and that are still relevant today, sadly enough. Um, and I think that's what we should do, not just every day on his birthday or the holiday, but every year whenever we're following civic activities, whether it's politics, whether it's getting involved, all the different stuff.
Right. I agree, and I think a lot of times we get caught up in nonsense. I don't know. Have you seen the video that was going around of that chick that was twerking to honor him or whatever?
Yeah, I saw that last night. I thought that was a parody. I didn't think that was actually like on an actual Instagram page.
Yeah, people been going crazy over that, and I'm just like, for me, I was like, you can't react to every little thing that goes on.
Right.
You never going to have 100. Is it disrespectful and is it stupid? Yeah, but you always gonna have those people. Like
Right,
sometimes
exactly.
you give too much attention to trolling. You give it like she knew that was gonna get attention, and y'all giving it to her. For me, it's just like, okay, I didn't give it a second thought. To be honest, it's like, okay. You mentioned the Boondocks too. They supposed to be coming out with a reboot as well.
Yeah, on HBO. Yep. Yeah.
I don't know how you're gonna do that without Pops, but well, I'll see. I'll see what happens with that. That's a whole other.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I mean,
Or John
depends.
Witherspoon. They should still have Pops in the series, but I don't know who they want.
I feel like John Witherspoon Jr. could do his dad's voice, but that's just what I've seen. But I don't think that's gonna happen. But
We'll, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Another thing about MLK is two things that I want to. Well, maybe three things I want to say. Number one, I always find it funny, and this is not original thought. Plenty of people have said it, but still true. It's funny how some of these politicians quote Martin Luther King, and they would be the very ones during that time period that would have been fighting against them, whether it be for racist, white supremacist reasons, whether it had been for um, calling him a communist because he was a threat to big business.
Mhm.
Um, so it's funny when you hear, especially these conservatives, one MLK. I'm just like, are you serious? Like, for example, when John McCain used to quote MLK and try to honor him. I'm like, didn't you vote against his
You voted against making it a federal holiday.
right? So because for those of you who don't know, MLK Day haven't been around that long. I know for most of our lives, our entire lives have been around, but it became a federal holiday in 1980s, and there was a whole big debate about that during the administration. And the way that Martin Luther King is looked at today, it wasn't how he was looked at back then. He was considered, well, at first he wasn't considered that much of a radical because you had the NOI, you had people like Malcolm out.
Right.
And there's one thing, a thing I want to say, like, because I did this in past MLK days, and maybe I'll re-upload this video or conversation I had a few years ago. There was, when I'm thinking Martin Luther King, I almost think of two different Martin Luther Kings. There was Martin Luther King in the early days, which I think, in my opinion, does kind of live up to the traditional stereotype of what you think of Martin Luther King. I have a dream speech, just wanting to get along, being very peaceful and accommodating. But there was a radical shift in Martin Luther King. I'd say around maybe 65, definitely by 66. Definitely
after the Voting Rights Act was passed and Medicare and Medicaid was passed, I think that's when the shift happened.
He was,
and the Vietnam War too, obviously.
Vietnam War. He was almost like a different person. Or I'd say from 60, I think late 65 to 68. He was very radical. He wasn't just he was still about getting his policy through non-violent
means non-violent.
Like, his ideas were very radical. He could have just went along to get along because he just got the vote in the Civil Rights Act of '64, Act passed. He could have just went along to get along, but no, what he do? He protested the Vietnam War. She should have. BS, because during the draft, a lot of poor people, and especially poor Black people, get sent to the front line to a nonsense war. Now that we know years later, the Gulf of Tonkin was nonsense anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when you talk about false flag, that's the definition. Then we go with what you was talking about. He was for UBI. He, if you want to talk about reparations, he showed support for reparations. He, the whole poor people campaign. And it's too bad he got assassinated before that could come to fruition.
Right.
Because his leadership, people always talk about it when it comes to just the civil rights and Black people, that was missing. But another component of it was his whole poor people agenda that I think when he got assassinated, the organization of that took a major blow. And we can't have that. I think in the future, you can't have policy so centered on one person.
Yeah.
Something happened to them. You're a bigger Bernie fan than me, but I like a lot of Bernie policies. But when it comes to Bernie, I'm not comparing Bernie to Dr. Martin King.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, if people that like progressive policies, I feel like they put too many eggs in just in Bernie basket when it comes to stuff like Medicare for all, and it was like he was the savior. I'm like, no, what happens if he doesn't win?
Exactly.
I don't know.
And it was also the same thing with, I don't know if you saw any of that hashtag force the vote stuff, Jimmy Dore, Movement for People's Party, some other people online were saying, and I get why the strategy, I get why you'd want to do this strategy, because the Democrats should, especially the progressives, should use their leverage on whatever they should do to advance a policy. But at the same time, however, like you said, you're putting too much faith in politicians. Like, it's all about, you got to build the movement and you got to create bridges, on these type of things, because at the end of the day, that's the only way things, because once you change hearts and minds, that's how things get done quickly in terms of big policies. Like, yeah, like I could look at a poll and say Medicare falls popular. Sure. Like, but at the same time, do we have tens of thousands of people on the street demanding it, even though, quite frankly, they should? No, it's not happening. And we have to ask ourselves, why is that happening? Why has why has the movement the last 25 years not advanced beyond like a Sanders presidential campaign or that time before Obama, got into office, or when he got into office and he was contemplating a healthcare plan, and there was sort of a push for a public option or even going single payer before they revealed that plan, the Romney plan. Um, you know, we have to ask ourselves why things are so discombobulated. But that's like it just goes back onto your point. You can't be focusing on personalities.
Yep.
It's like look at how like say marijuana has gotten legalized. Like look at what the movement did. They saw how they took those L's, they corrected course, and they did stuff at the state level. And then 3 weeks ago, we saw them vote on it in the House. So, I think that's kind of the model of how things normally go.
In the past,
Especially when you're talking about federal stuff, trying to get
Mhm.
things federally.
Yeah, and it actually passed the House.
It passed the House, yeah, it
Yeah,
passed the House, yeah. Yeah.
which I was actually surprised, to be honest. I was a little bit surprised about that.
Mhm.
Um, just because you still have a bunch of establishment Dems in the House, I didn't know if that actually happened. Now, I don't think the bill, you could correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was for decriminalization, not actually legalization, right?
No, I think that was legalizing.
Was it
Um,
legalizing? Okay.
I believe it was legalizing. Yeah, Biden himself is going to executive order, I think, decriminalizing. I think that's what the distinction is. But I could be wrong. I could look that up.
Right. And if Biden said that, that is major progress. It just like a month or so ago, we were talking about it still need to be more studies, and that wasn't big
Right, right.
priority list. But he's been getting pressured,
Yeah,
and now he is talking about signing more executive orders because before he was saying that he wasn't too keen on it. But I want to see, and there's been leaks and reports. I officially want to see exactly what executive orders he actually going to sign. I know it's going to be a lot with climate change. I heard he's going to rescind their permit for the Keystone Pipeline.
I was actually surprised about that. A little bit surprised.
I'm really surprised about that as well.
The Canadian Prime Minister is not happy, by the way.
Yeah. Justin Trudeau.
Yep, Trudeau. He's not happy. I saw some tweets earlier about what he was saying about it.
That's right. I mean, and I know the U.S. is a hard partner to have because we switch policies so rapidly with
Right.
administration. It's like, okay, we say this now, even with business, right? With the emission standards, like
Right.
raised the emission standards. Trump came in, lowered them. Biden coming in, he probably going to raise them again. So it's a yo-yo of what requirements are depending on the administration. But I'm going to circle back a little bit to what we was talking about with MLK and the poor people movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
That still exists to this day. But
Yeah. Shout out to Reverend Barber and Poor People's Campaign and all those people put into the work that they did a lot in Georgia, for Ossoff and Warnock especially.
Yeah, and it's sad because the poor people campaign doesn't have as much traction as it used to.
Yeah.
People don't even know about it, and
Yeah.
it's like I don't know what to blame for that. I don't know if the organizations and the people in each particular city, because it's different in each area you go in.
Mm-hmm.
They not doing enough, or if people just not open to hearing that message until it's a crisis mode. And another thing, if they just don't have enough money, I think it's a combination of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because you need funding, and it just it some of these grassroots issues Like you said, we need to be out on the streets with a lot of this stuff. Police reform. I mean, that it's been a problem. This is not new.
It's not new, yeah.
What the lack of affordable housing, that's been a problem. Now, our healthcare system is an absolute joke. That's been a problem. I mean, if for people that never did the history on how we came to have the system we have with private insurance, they definitely should do the research. It's really interesting because single payer, it's been a push for single payer since like Teddy Roosevelt.
Right.
You know, literally. That's like the beginning. That's the beginning of the 20th
century. Yeah.
And the only reason that we ended up with the system that we had, it ended up with companies offering it as a benefit with unions.
Right.
And then unions kind of started to like it as a added incentive, especially once union rights started getting taken away. And like, so it's a whole big thing. And I can get more details than that, but I just want people to know, just because things is the way it is now, that doesn't mean it should be that way or that it always will be that way.
Facts, yeah. That's very true. Very true.
So tomorrow is the last day. Well, not even tomorrow. Today is the last.
Today's the last full day.
And what, we got like a half a day tomorrow with Trump?
Yeah, well, at 12:01 p.m.
Can't get out here soon enough.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to talk about with you is there's been a big controversy on whether Trump should have been banned for these social media sites. I know where you stand on that. We might have a slight difference of opinion on this. So I think it's an interesting discussion, a very nuanced discussion as well. So what's your whole stance on the social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, almost all of them basically banning Trump?
Well, they have the right to do that because that's their platform. And I guess you can argue, and I mean, I think we can all argue that he's definitely violated terms of service, and he's definitely, incited. He incited these riot, that riot, and he's been hinting at this for months now. He was retweeting Stop the Steal. He was, he's known the guy who organized it. All these other Congress members that were part of that. So, he was inciting this stuff, and he set the stage for it months ago, before the election, even way before the election. I'd actually say he set the stage for it, before the pandemic. I mean, I think he was saying stuff like, if I'm not going to lose, there's no way I can lose. He got high and mighty off the last impeachment when he got acquitted, and he had his highest approval ratings.
Let me just add one more thing to your point even more. Remember that rally he had? He was like, basically, he's like, yeah, we're gonna get another 4, maybe even 4 more after that. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and he was posting memes about that too. So yeah, no, I think I mean, obviously since the election, it's just been on another level, especially on Twitter and Facebook. I mean, everything's misinformation. I mean, it's all fake. It's all complete fake stuff. So I don't have a problem with banning him off of Twitter. I mean, people get banned on Twitter all the time, or Facebook, all the time. But the issue is the business model of these companies, is that they profit off of targeted advertisement, and the algorithms are shifted to promote this type of extreme reactionary culture, right? So like, Alex Jones, or whatever right-wing provocative person on the internet, their stuff, like denying, say, a school shooting, or denying the election results, or whatever, that's going to get shared, and then the algorithms make it so, it's going to be your next video. That's going to go to another one. So it just feeds itself, and then the ads, they get targeted on the user, and you're getting ads for Stops to Steal, because Stop to Steal is buying ads, right? And creating, the Facebook groups to organize, and then the Twitter, all that stuff.
Mhm.
So the problem is these platforms are not held liable for the stuff that goes on their platform, and I think at a certain level they have to be held liable for the damage they've caused. I mean, and it's not even just here in the U.S. There's I forgot who it was. Somebody at the UN was saying that they were blaming Facebook for, political violence, I think in like Sri Lanka or somewhere like that.
Mhm.
And you see it also with India, the extremism from the Hindu nationalists against Muslims there. You see it, with, you saw it with radical, like Muslim groups as well. They were using some of these, I mean, and the problem is the business model fosters that. So you have to change the business model. I think, the whole Section 230 debate, people probably been seeing Section 230 trend online. You'll see a lot of conservatives saying, First Amendment rights have to be part of Section 230. Section 230 is like 25 words. Like if you look at the 96 Telecommunications Act, it's literally 25 words.
And like the 96 Communication Act was a horrible bill too.
Right.
Let me add that. You wonder where all the black radio stations went?
It's because of that law.
96.
Exactly.
That's aside. Go ahead though. Yeah.
Exactly. So I mean, you could repeal it. I don't think you should repeal it completely. I think you should just reform that that part of the law. I think the whole targeting ads is a big problem. I think that's basically what has fueled Facebook and Google's rise. And I think that's, where all that ad money that was going to newspapers, that was going to online publications, it's all gone to Facebook and Google now. So the death of no local news is part of this too. And that's why now you have all these right-wing people, they believe they're saving democracy by storming the Capitol, when it's the opposite. But they believed a lie 100 times, and they actually think that they're the patriots, not the insurrectionists that they are. It's pretty crazy. I mean, it's very dystopian. And I don't really, I mean, I think Biden does want to do something about it, but the problem is, I don't know, man. Some of these people that he's about to appoint to like the antitrust division at DOJ, I'm getting a little wary of, because they were in the Obama DOJ and they worked for Google, they worked for Amazon. Like one of them, that's rumored she worked with Ted Cruz at Google. Like, oh my God, like what the hell are they thinking?
I mean,
So I mean, we really need, if Biden was serious, like honestly, if he was serious, like he would have legitimate enforcers who would push like whatever the laws we already have right now. But then you'd also have I would also recommend people to check out actually the House antitrust report on big tech that came out a few months ago. It's a very good report that the Democrats led on the committee. There's, the Republicans also contributed to it, but the Democrats on that committee, like Congressman Cicilline from Rhode Island, Pramila Jayapal was on it, Joe Neguse of Colorado, like they are very serious, and they actually have really good recommendations. It's very long though. I mean, I haven't finished it myself, but I read a little bit of it. Like that's the roadmap we need to go with, like big tech, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's a fine line between. I feel like so many people on one side or the other. It's like they want the First Amendment, freedom of speech, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's exceptions to freedom of speech as well. You don't just say anything you want to. That's all. You can't incite panic. You can't incite.
Can't yell fire in a empty in a theater or something like that.
Yeah. But I am concerned about antitrust and the monopolization of big tech,
right?
Or even more like, I guess, if you want to get technical terms, is more like a cartel, basically.
Yeah. Like they like these companies, they control the internet, basically.
Right. I know when people think of cartels, they think of drug cartels, but that's not really where the word stemmed from. Is basically in a capitalist society is like crony capitalism. There's a few companies that control everything. You have to go through them. That's basically they not in business with each other. They separate entities, but they control the market, and you can only go to those few companies. Basically, a cartel. But I don't know. At the same time, I feel like sometimes they can overcorrect, like Google with or Alphabet, because Alphabet on Google. What they did with YouTube, I think they overcorrected with YouTube. So they was getting blasted with because it was a bunch of white supremacist Nazi stuff going on. YouTube was basically still just different, but they overcorrected. Like, you can barely even talk about news without getting flagged or your videos getting banned. I did a video a long time ago. My channel's not even popping like that yet. It's about to. Oh yeah, it's about to be. But it's not even popping like that yet. And I got a flag on an old video. I'm like, how did this get flagged? And I got flagged. It wasn't even nothing crazy, because I'm not a troll. I'm not a shock jock. I don't just say stuff just to say it.
Right.
We're talking about the Confederate flag. Excuse me. I was talking about a Confederate flag issue, and somehow it got flagged. I don't know.
It's weird.
Their reasoning was that, okay, it wasn't, I didn't specify it wasn't for kids, but I'm like, this is before that policy was even in existence. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I am a little bit concerned with overcorrecting and them filtering content only to big corporations, because it's with YouTube TV that's going on right now, where you have like CNN and you have the bigger companies getting into that. I am a little concerned with content creators and them being able to survive in the market like that.
Yeah. No, I think that's very true. I mean, that's like another form of, everybody's talking about censorship, but that's part of it. And I think that's the thing with liberals that is pretty, I don't know, scary a little bit right now, is that they're willing to kind of go scorched earth a little bit because of and especially with what happened, because the Capitol. But it's gonna hurt so many people, especially say if you have a podcast and you're on, Apple controls the Apple Store has 70% of all the podcast stuff. So if you lose that, you're gonna lose most of your audience. So, and then obviously the algorithms and whatnot. I remember a couple of years ago, I think it was in 2017 or 2018. I think it was a year after Trump got in, or maybe a little after. A lot of these big tech companies, they kind of changed up the algorithms because of what happened in 2015, 2016, and that hurt a lot of channels that were doing pretty well with viewership, with making money off of ads and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden traffic went down, right? It was noticeable, right? And they did it kind of at a drop of a hat. And the fact that they have that much power, I think that's, it's pretty crazy to me.
Here's a thing where I don't know we will agree on this. This might be an area of disagreement. I think you are for regulating the social media companies as a public utility, correct?
Yeah, I'm for that. Yeah, I think I was skeptical at first, but I think I've become more amenable to that. But I also do support breaking them up or having them divest from certain parts of their business. I think the Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, I think that's just a hot mess. And the fact that, right now they were gonna do something with the privacy settings on WhatsApp. They were gonna either sell the data or something. I forgot what was gonna happen, but they backtracked because so many people are going to Signal and Telegram, right?
Mhm.
So these companies, I don't think they can regulate themselves. I think they're in some corners are screaming for to be regulated. But obviously, I don't. The thing is, I don't know who would be the regulators, right? That's the kind of the terrifying thing about it, because like maybe Biden puts in the right people at the FTC. Who knows, right? Maybe he
Right.
does. But then 4 years from now, the FTC is, majority is whoever's in the White House, right?
Mhm.
So then, in 4 years, you have a Republican, they get the majority vote. And then what happens then, right? And the funny thing is the conservatives are the ones who are crying. They're the ones who are crying the most, right?
Right. Right.
And the funny thing is, in my opinion, they've benefited the most off of social media in the last half decade, right?
Mhm.
Like the top 10 Facebook pages, like 8 of them are right wing, right?
Right.
Or right leaning. Like YouTube, so many conservative channels are popping, right? And then they also have, since they're on the right, there's endless amount of money, whether it's from the Kochs, the Aldosons, the Mercer, especially the Mercer family. The Mercer family is the one that, built up Parler.
Mhm.
So there's an endless amount of money on their side, and they're able to amplify. And they have crap like PragerU, right? That's propagating this crazy shit on there, revisionist history.
No.
Yeah, I think I'm for that. Well, you're for breaking them up. I'm pretty sure, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I do think if you want to have real capitalism, you need to break it up because you can't have a monopoly.
Right.
So yes, I am for breaking them up. Break up Instagram from Facebook. Yes. And WhatsApp. I'm for that. Um, I guess where I'm a little bit, I don't- where I'm a little bit concerned, it
Mm.
almost seems like um, some people don't want them to make money at all, and I'm just like, it's a way that they can make money. I have no problem with advertisement. That's what you're supposed to do.
Hmm.
Even with the algorithm and directing you to certain stuff, if it shows that's your interest, I don't necessarily have a problem with that either.
Hmm. Yeah.
Guess where I do have a problem is that the selling, somewhat the selling your information without your consent.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
that is a problem for me.
Yeah.
Um, and that's mainly it. Breaking them up is fine. I don't know if they need to be. I don't know what's the line between breaking them up. Can you break them up without making them public utility?
I think, yeah, you can. Yeah, you can do that.
Or you could just say like it's a monopoly and it get to that status. I'm for that. I'm not sure if it should be a public utility. I haven't made up my mind about that yet.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
really a complex it's issue.
it is. Yeah. I mean, and then we also have, I think people forget about like net neutrality was kind of punctured with Ajit Pai and the Trump administration, and then you have we have these debates about Section 230, and I think you don't necessarily have to regulate them like public utilities to get rid of the extremism problem. But I don't think you, but and I say that about extremism, like I don't think you need a censor to get rid of the extremism problem. I think you have to change the incentives of these companies so that they don't, like, it's not ingrained in the whole business that they are knowingly or unknowingly promoting extremism or nefarious activity that occurs, because it's right now it's so easy to feign outrage. You have people basically hating each other, wanting to go to war with each other, denying basic facts, like all those anti-vaccine stuff that's happening. Like, and I'm not an anti-vaxxer or anything. Like, and I get why people would be skeptical of vaccines, but like there's like some blatant like fake videos, right? Like people that are not even like doctors saying stuff like, oh, the vaccine has legit chip that will completely, control your life and stuff like that. Like I get why people should be skeptical, but like where's the evidence for that? Like, where's your proof? Where's the, you know what I mean? Like I will believe it if there's proof, but I don't know. It's like people are making stuff up completely. So,
Yeah, and I guess that's where I
and it
have,
takes a life on its own.
yeah, and that's where I have difficulties because, like, I do believe in freedom of speech, and some people just gullible. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know how you get around that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a problem too.
Not even just gullible, but just not doing research for themselves. People that don't know how to check sources,
Uh-huh. Yep.
people believe anything that they hear or see, or believe anything that they see from a person they like. Um, People don't need evidence, and it's a problem. But I don't know if, like, even if somebody is saying something blatantly false, what is the line between, okay, you should step in and get rid of that, or keep it?
Mm-hmm.
It's I'm not on the extreme on either side. I think there's a line there. I just don't know exactly where that line is at.
Yeah, I'm interested to do a little bit more research on this, just to see like what other like people, as at least on our side of the aisle, are thinking about it. But I'm also interested to see what like some serious conservatives are thinking about it too, just because on their side, they talk about First Amendment rights and stuff like that, and I get that, but they're very tepid on monopoly power because the libertarian, hold on a lot of these Republicans is still there.
Right.
And we'll see them talk about the debt and the deficit in the next few weeks when Biden's trying to spend, $2 trillion here, a couple trillion here. But and especially on the courts too, like a lot of these judges that are appointed by Trump, they're not populist, right-wing populists or nationalists. A lot of them are libertarian.
Right. And
So they would be in favor of mergers and monopoly and, endless, consolidation.
to me, I don't think T-Mobile and Sprint should have been allowed to merge.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. When that happened, I was like, nah, that should not have happened.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
To the Obama administration credit, they did block some of these big mergers. And
They did block a few, especially in the second term. He started to do a couple of them, but I feel like the first term, they were not doing a damn thing.
But here's the problem: you can't, like, I know people like Mayor Garland, the Obama former Supreme Court nominee that's now
Mayor Garland, yeah, he's gonna be DOJ, yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you look at his records, I'm not enthralled by him.
No, me neither. Yeah.
When Obama picked him, the deal was that it was just crazy how the Republicans blocked him for so long. He's very moderate. He's and the DOJ that could lead. I know that's not specifically their department, but can lead investigations some of these acts by big companies and other stuff, like investigating police departments.
Yeah, it has the well, yeah. In terms of the big companies, they have an antitrust division,
right?
That has right now those suits against Google and Facebook, and I think I think Biden will continue those suits. I don't think they're gonna do what the Bush administration did with Microsoft, which was just like, oh, nothing to see here, we're out, which is basically what happened with Microsoft.
I want to see, because I know he's very corporate friendly.
He is. But it's weird. Like, you look at his, like, who he's putting into place, and it's like you have corporate friendly people here, and you have Elizabeth Warren's people here, right? And they're like in the same thing. It's like you look at the SEC, you look at DOJ, you look at and I'm looking at a little bit, not just the cabinet level, but the sub cabinet level of some of these names that are coming out. it's weird because it's like the people that worked with Warren or who are on her side of the spectrum, how are they going to interact with these people who are, corporate friendly, right? It's a weird mix of what we're seeing with this. It's better than Obama. Like, I'm going to say that. Obviously, that's not saying a lot, but it's a weird mix of people. Because like Biden, like as we know, he didn't really run on a policy, right? He didn't run on any specific thing. He ran on, I'm not Trump, beat Trump, restore the soul of America, blah, blah, blah. That's it. So.
Yeah, we'll see. And like speaking of that, before we get out, I do want to touch on because the inauguration is tomorrow. And last time we talked, the Georgia Senate races didn't happen yet, so the Democrats
Right.
control the Senate now. So I'm interested to see what policies is going to come out this administration. Granted, Joe Manchin is already out there throwing his weight around, and we're trying. Right?
Yes.
But you can also get, Elizabeth Warren can do the same thing now if she wanted to, or Bernie.
Yeah. I mean, Bernie's the chair of the budget committee, so whatever is going to pass, he has. I mean, he's going to have a direct hand in whatever passes.
So you have a razor thin majority right now.
Yeah.
But you're going to need Kamala Harris to break the tie, basically, on almost anything.
Right.
So with the executive orders, I want to see what he does because I don't want to hear no excuses because he already is set to do a whole bunch of executive orders. And when he was talking to the civil rights leaders, he was saying he wasn't really too keen on doing that. So does that mean he's not keen on doing it, or he's not keen on doing it exactly what they want him to do? So, and Black people put him in power, so I'm not trying to hear nothing. He gets like no slack. I mean, he's already my favorite.
There's no honeymoon period with Biden. That's on the progressive side. You'll have to convince the blue MAGAs on Twitter and those resistance moms in the suburbs to also get on his ass about it, but they don't want to. They just want to go back to brunch.
No.
But in terms of the Senate, in terms of the Senate, so it's gonna be 50-50, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to pass a bill by regular order, you need 60 votes, right?
Yeah. So they got rid of the filibuster, which they're not going to do.
They're not going to do. I don't think they have any room to do it, just because Kamala would have to be the tiebreaker. You'd have to have all 50, and then Kamala break the tie for the rule change. If they had 52 or 53, I think there would be more of a realistic shot at doing it.
Right. My thing is every single Dem should be for it.
They should be for it, but unfortunately,
you have Feinstein, you have Manchin, you have
Dick Durbin,
that's not for it. I don't know about Cinema. Who knows? I think Kristen Cinema will go wherever she fits in.
She'll go whatever will get her reelected in 2024.
Yeah, I don't, because she used to be in the Green Party. I don't really think Cinema really had any.
She's sort of a shapeshifter, she's actually shapeshifters in many ways. If you've seen her with her hairstyles and different outfits, and she seems like a very quirky person.
Right. So you know where she's at on any different issue. But so it's probably not going to happen, even though it should. But I know he was going to the reconciliation.
Yeah. So I think Biden's strategy is he wants to do another COVID stimulus by regular order. So he wants to get 9 Republicans or 10 Republicans, to do that. And then I think he will try. But I don't. I mean, let's say he's successful with that. We don't know, but let's say he's successful with that. And then he'll have a reconciliation bill opportunity for the rest of this fiscal year. Then he'll have one in fiscal year 2022, which would be October to September of next year. Mm-hmm. And then he'll have a third one in fiscal year 23 before, actually, right before the midterms and after the midterms as well. Depending on how the Congress shakes out, they might, if they lose the House, maybe in November, December of 2022, they're like, we got to pass some shit right now while we have the power. So he has 3 shots really at the reconciliation effort.
Yeah.
What I think right now they're going to try to do COVID relief through regular order. It probably will fail because they'll have stuff like, the voting rights stuff and some other stuff maybe stuffing into it. But the state and local aid is like the red line for the Republicans. They don't want to do it. But then I think his reconciliation bill, that him and Bernie Sanders actually are, working closely on, I think that's going to focus more on, infrastructure, green technology, stuff like that. I think that's going to be, if you're going to do, infrastructure, that would be the prime opportunity to do it with reconciliation. And speaking of Joe Manchin, the other day he said he wants to spend $2, $3, or $4 trillion on infrastructure. Whoa! So it's going to be very interesting to see what the Dems do. Like you said, there's no excuses. They have power. It's not 2009. We know that. We know they don't have, but at the same time, they have a couple of opportunities.
Now, they already started to make a little bit of mistake with the 1400. I don't know why they.
Yeah, I don't know why you don't just do 2000 and clean at that point.
You said 2000. That won you Georgia. Yeah. Now, I know what they're saying. Technically, it would be 2000 with the 600 you just got, but no, you didn't say that when you was campaigning.
Right.
Don't start that right now because people are going to be disappointed.
Right.
In my opinion, even the 2000 is not going far enough.
No, it doesn't. No.
I would rather. I know people say 2000 every month. I don't know if that's that. I don't think that's realistic. But I remember Kamala Harris had.
She had a 2000 monthly. Yeah.
Not even before that, when she announced, right before she announced president, she kind of had her own little mini version of a UBI.
Right. It was like a tax credit thing. Yes, I forgot what it was called.
That would have gave about $300 to $500 a month to each person. You had to meet a certain income.
Right. Yeah.
So I would have rather something like that for people that is really being effective. Because a one-time payment, even 2000, it will help. It definitely help people.
It helps, yeah.
Like, even if you get something like $500 to $700 continuous, end of this pandemic or this crisis, that will help better than just one lump sum.
Right.
Or getting another lump sum.
And then it could also help a lot of people who are not in the unemployment system. There's a lot of people that are not, that are not getting unemployment at all. So.
Our next show, and I'm going to do a separate video about this. When we're on here, I kind of want to, since we both into policies, I want to kind of hit home on some policies that people might hear. Don't know exactly what it is. There's so much stuff we can talk about on UBI. I think that's the first one we should do. UBI. Because it's a lot of different ways you can do it. Like, you don't have to do it the way Andrew Yang was proposing during his presidential run.
Right.
That's interesting too, because he is proposing. I was wondering if he was going to propose UBI during his mayor run. He is, but it's very different.
Very different. Yeah.
Now you can chalk that up to he was going to be president, and federal government got much more power to do this than not even just a state, just a city.
Right, exactly. And the federal government can deficit spend. You can't do it as in the city level. So you got to generate the funds somehow, some way, whether you reallocate it or you do new taxes or something to do that. Because he wants to spend $1 billion a year.
Yeah, I think his plan was $2,000 a month for his UBI to the poorest residents of New York City.
No, I think it was something like $200 or something. It was something for the most. I thought
it was 2,000, maybe it was 200. I know it was only going to hit 500,000 citizens.
Citizens, like the most poor people in New York City, or families.
New York City is a city of almost 9 million people. So
right.
Extremely limited.
Right.
But yeah, that's something we can dive into. What's the best way to get some of these policies? I mean, we can do this with reparations, UBI, Medicare for all, or just
Right.
health, or it doesn't have to be Medicare for all. Universal health care was
Yeah.
options is there. It's a bunch of
There's so many different models with healthcare. We talk about Medicare for all a lot because that's the bill that John Conyers, Pramila Jayapal, Bernie Sanders, they've been pushing. But even in the Congress before, when Obama was president, there was several different types of universal health care bills from members of Congress back then that were not getting the press and love that they should have gotten. And if they had even, modeled one of those bills, we'd be in a much better place today. Even like you even go back to the 90s, Hillary Care, if you look at their plan in the 90s, that would have been we would have been more closely aligned with Canada.
Huh?
Huh?
There's a lot of stuff with the HMOs in that one.
Yeah. They had HMOs and stuff, but they actually had like a board that would set prices, right? For hospitals and drugs and stuff like that that other countries have. Like even that one component, it would be huge in America, like just to drive down the costs of healthcare. But we don't even have that because there's like the whole waste. Everybody talks about the waste in the system. There's almost $1 trillion of waste just in the system. We spend 3.7 trillion a year on healthcare as a country. Just think about that. That's
so you have that. You had hell, every Democratic president had a version. Carter had a version.
they should have passed in the 70s. Carter and Ted Kennedy and all them, but
together, it could have passed, but Carter and
the Dems had the Senate and the House and the presidency, and they had huge majorities. They didn't pass. It's crazy.
just that Carter and Kennedy just didn't get along.
Yeah, Carter he was not a good party leader.
Yeah, and I think Carter was more moderate than
he was more moderate than Dems in DC. Yeah,
than Kennedy would like. But it was crazy is Carter is a extreme liberal today's time.
Yeah, if he ran for president today, I think he would have been way more liberal. I mean, if you think about it, he was a moderate, but like he was the last, like not the last, but his actually presidency. He actually formed the Department of Education. I think he formed another cabinet position. Department. The crazy thing is like Nixon, formed the EPA. Like like Nixon actually had several like New Deal type of policies, but obviously he was a crook, so we always think about him being a crook and a criminal. But
Nixon had policies on both sides, his mouth on everything.
Right.
He was an avid racist white supremacist, but he actually did have some policy that he never enacted, of course. But to placate certain leaders, because he could always play both sides.
He could play both sides, yeah.
He used the Southern strategy, but he also had like a business plan for Black people too that wasn't too bad if you read into it.
Right.
He probably would never pass it though. It's just unless he got some amount of pressure.
He was also for the UBI sort of policy that was passed in the House.
Right.
Didn't pass the Senate because the Dems actually wanted more generous benefits. But he was going to sign it into law. And he also his healthcare plan actually. If you look at his healthcare plan in '72, it's honestly it's the Affordable Care Act. It's the Affordable Care Act. You know what I mean? It's just and the thing is, it would have been better. His actually was better because it actually had, you talk about how Medicaid was back then. It actually, expanded Medicaid back then. And there was going to be exchanges to buy insurance. It's the exact same thing. That was the Republican healthcare plan. That's why they don't have a healthcare plan right now, because their healthcare plan is already the law. So it's pretty crazy, man.
Let's do it. So next time we talk, we're going to discuss UBI. What exactly is universal basic income? What is the best strategy for it? Because right now at the federal level, there's like a 0% chance of it passing federally.
Right.
In the second state, if you ain't get elected in New York City and pass it on the city. Now, granted, New York City is a unique city.
It's unique, yeah.
if he passed it at a city level, would it what the reception going to be? Would it be good, or would there be resentment from the people that's barely middle class or the working poor that won't qualify for it? Would that do more damage to the policy
Right.
than not? There's a lot of things to discuss. The original Kamala Harris plan when she ran for president, the tax credit that was kind of like a UBI, or even baby bonds, because there is some senator baby bonds was actually proposed too, which I was shocked in the Senate. I was
Yeah.
shocked that
Yeah. They actually want to stuff it into a reconciliation bill, actually.
My chin hit the ground. I did even baby bombs is not universal income, but it's kind of in the same realm, but it's more long term.
Mhm.
We can smush that into the conversation too. Next time, yeah, let's have a whole show just dedicated on that. We might touch on a few of
Yeah.
the current issues too that happened at the time. But yeah, let's get policy
We'll
specific.
see. We'll see.
Not enough shows is doing that right now.
For sure. For sure. For sure. Sounds good. Sounds good, man.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
All right, Bob, thanks for joining me.
All right, man. Be easy.
All right.
Stay
Peace.
safe. Peace.